Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm bringing you a team selection video. I got 4 schools that we're going to decide to pick from for our NCAA Football 2004 Dynasty. I'm going to put a poll up on this video. I know I didn't do that for the Madden 04 franchise, but there's going to be another one of those videos coming out so you guys can decide on Dallas and Atlanta for that franchise. Well, there's going to be 4 schools for this one, so let's get right into it with team number 1, my favorite team, the team I've watched since I was 4 years old. They had Ray Lewis running around on the field, and he is the reason why I became a Miami Hurricane fan. So Miami is the first school for you guys to select from. I know they have a lot of championships, and they have a really good team, but I wanted to include my favorite school on here because I didn't for the last Dynasty we did with the Bulldogs for NCAA Football 2003. I put out a video just like this one and only got 1 comment, which was from my brother, and that's how I ended up picking Mississippi State. So I'm going to let you guys decide between these 4 schools. But let's take a look at Miami's roster. They have decent quarterbacks, not, elite. So going to be pounding the ball quite a few times a game with Frank Gore and Jarrett Payton. They got some depth at wide receiver. You see Sonoris Moss, Devin Hester, Roscoe Parrish, Kevin Beard. Definitely some talented players and a lot of fast athletes. Of course, they have Kellen Winslow Jr. at tight end and Kevin Everett. And then Curtis Justice, he's not very good. But they do have some pretty good offensive linemen. Carlos Joseph, Eric Winston. These are both players that went on and had pretty successful NFL careers. Vernon Carey as well, and Chris Myers, he went on to play for the Houston Texans. And Joel Rodriguez, Anthony Wolschlager, and of course the defense has always had a lot of depth. It's the offense that's been struggling, of course, in real life recently. John Square, he was really good. So they have plenty of talent and plenty of depth on this team. So I know would probably be a dynasty that has a lot of wins, but will I be able to win championships with this team? Possibly. Got Vince Wilfork, DJ Williams, who I selected in our Houston Texans franchise. Rocky McIntosh will take his place. Of course, Jonathan Vilma, this will be his last year. So the first year would probably be the most successful season that we would have if we selected Miami. A lot of their talent is junior or senior, so they'll either be going to the draft or just graduating away, so I would really have to build this team up. Of course, you got Sean Taylor, my favorite player of all time. I watched him from high school until his untimely death. And then Mo Sykes. I selected both of these safeties in our Houston Texans franchise, and they did pretty well for us. So let's see if we can get some more success out of them in college. Now, the kickers is where this team might struggle. Mark Gent, 74 overall, and Brian Monroe, the punter, 70 overall. So that is it for the Hurricanes roster. If you want to see Miami as our dynasty team, go ahead and select them for our poll. Now we're going to go ahead and take a look at team number 2. And that's going to be North Carolina, the Tar Heels. Now, for this dynasty, I wanted it to be, Big East or ACC related. This is the game that I played the most growing up, and I pretty much used Miami most of the time, but I played over 1,000 games in this version of NCAA football, and most of the time was with Big East or ACC schools, so I want to continue that, and North Carolina would be a good selection as well. Darian Durant, redshirt junior quarterback. We might get 2 years out of him, most likely 2 because of a lower 80 overall. He's not going to get drafted most likely, but this team is definitely lacking a star quarterback, and it would be a pretty rough rebuild. They do have Willie Parker. We'll get 1 year out of him if you guys select North Carolina for our school. He's a senior, 91 speed. These rosters are not default. I did edit some ratings for players here and there. Nothing too crazy. As you can see, North Carolina has some really young wide receivers, so that would be fun. We just need to get them a quarterback for the future in recruiting. Tight ends, you guys know I like to use fast tight ends, and North Carolina does not have any, so I would definitely have to recruit one of them as well. Their offensive line, is not the greatest. And if you see players that say NA, I could not find them on any rosters. So I just gave them a 36 overall for everything, and they will never play. But their offensive line is pretty bad, low 70s for most players, and then in the 60s. Their defensive line also not very good. All of them are in the 60s or lower. There's a 58 overall, Mickey Rice, so defense is a priority for North Carolina. You can see their linebacking core, all 70 overall, and some of them in the 50s. So the defense is going to be gashed every game if North Carolina is our selected school. Now their secondary is not bad. Michael Waddell, 84. He's a senior though. We'd only get 1 year out of him, and Derek Johnson, we would only get 1 year out of him as well. So Chris Hawkins would step up in the next season, but there's no depth on this school at all. Dexter Reed, senior, so he's going to be gone. And, I mean, their whole defense is just god-awful. They have a 77 overall kicker. He is a senior, though, so we'd have to get a kicker immediately. Pretty much what we did with MSU, and we know how that turned out. We have one of the best kickers of all time. John Lafferty, another senior, so we need to recruit a punter. That is going to do it for North Carolina, guys. Let's go ahead and take a look at school number 3. School number 3 is Virginia Tech. Now, they don't have any national championships in football, neither does North Carolina, and that's why I wanted to select those two schools. And let's see, their quarterback position, Brian Randall, we might get 2 years out of him, but if he does decide to leave after his junior season, we will have Marcus Vick waiting behind him, redshirt freshman quarterback, 87 speed. He is an athletic freak, so that would be really fun to play with him. Kevin Jones, junior halfback. I don't know if you guys are old enough to remember him, but he had injury problems once he got to the NFL. So hopefully that would not impact for this dynasty if we were to select the Hokies. They do have some pretty good depth at halfback. They have a senior fullback, so we got to recruit one of them. Ernest Wilford at receiver, and they don't really have a lot of depth at receiver. Tight end, they're all very slow, of course. Offensive line is decent. Some pretty good depth there. Some young guys. Now the defense is really good, actually. 92 overall right end, 88 left end, 83. So some depth everywhere. But these guys are seniors. There's 3 seniors on that defensive end position. Defensive tackle, pretty good depth. Of course, we got a 68 overall player. You can't redshirt him. He's already been redshirted. So he's not really going to get a whole lot better in his career. Linebacker position's pretty good, 89 overall, but he's going to leave after 1 year. Brandon Manning. So definitely some heavy recruiting in some key positions for Virginia Tech if you guys select them. You might get another year out of Michael Baquet. I'm not sure. I'll look up the pronunciation for everybody if we do select a team that has some weird names like this one. But they do have Aaron Rouse, freshman middle linebacker, 70 overall, so he's pretty good. Cornerback, D'Angelo Hall, of course, was a beast. First overall pick for the Falcons 1 year. But again, all of these guys are upperclassmen. At the safety spot, Jimmy Williams, sophomore. So they do have some decent talent around the board. We'd have to recruit a kicker. Carter Warley is leaving. And we might get 2 years out of Vinny Burns. So that is it for Virginia Tech, guys. Go ahead and vote for them if you want to see the Hokies for our dynasty team in NCAA Football 2004. We're going to go ahead and take a look at our 4th and final team. Now, they also do not have a national championship, and that is West Virginia, a very storied school for football, but they just have never won the big one. Now, they definitely need quarterback help because they've only got 2 players at that spot, and Rasheed Marshall is a redshirt junior, and we'll most likely get 2 years out of him. I don't think he's NFL ready after 1 year. But halfback, there's some decent depth. Some 76 overall freshmen and an 80 freshman, so definitely some young guys that'll get some snaps. We'll be running back by committee if we pick the Mountaineers. Some good fullbacks, but they're both seniors, so fullback will be a position of need in recruiting. And wide receiver, they're not very good. mostly low 70s and a low 60. Tight end, nothing to really write home about. Offensive line, 91 overall, Tim Brown at right tackle. And then we go to low 70s and then a mid 60s player. But their offensive line's not terrible. Definitely some good players, but mostly upperclassmen yet again. Defensive line, a couple upperclassmen here, and the lowerclassmen are not very good, 60s, lower 60s. So for North Carolina and West Virginia, there will have to be heavy recruiting in the offseason because these young guys on the team right now are just, they're not really that great. And the best players on this squad are all juniors or seniors, so after 1 or 2 years, this entire is going to look totally different. This is our final team. There's Adam Pac-Man Jones, sophomore. We'll get him for a couple of years. But go ahead and vote for West Virginia if you want to see these guys as our Dynasty team in NCAA football 2004. That's going to be it for this video, guys. We'll let you guys take a look at the kickers for West Virginia, and I will see you guys down in the comments section below to discuss Dynasty team for NCAA football 04. Take it easy, guys.